Hey folks, it's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Also home to the best MJ and crypto community. Today is Friday. Happy Friday. This is also the channel that was created by a retail investor for retail investors. It is October 18th. Once again, happy Friday. Hope you're doing well. In this video, got a little bit of a different style video today. We talked about this in the Pow Group private community. I can't count how many times I've talked to people on public YouTube, on X, Facebook, all social media about this same topic as well. And you see some pretty crazy comments out there. Some people have like six figures. Some people say they have $1 million or $500,000 into one stock, or they have $100,000 into one stock, or 10,000. It's all over the place, right? But I see a lot of people saying, I have 100,000 shares of this, and if you do the math, it's like $250,000 into one stock. And I want to discuss in this video just my own opinion. Let me know if you agree with me, disagree with me. Let me know what your opinion is or how you approach it. But I'm going to be discussing like how to determine how much we should invest in one particular investment. Now, this is not going to apply to real estate because I don't know where you're going to be able to buy any kind of real estate for $10,000, but we'll use an example of $10,000. So we'll talk about how much we should typically invest. And this is what financial advisors and banks and things like that do whenever they first start to question you and do your risk profile and your investor profile, right? They get all of this information. They get your debt and your liabilities, and they do the same thing when you go and you apply for like a lending, like any kind of lending. The first thing they do is they get your net worth. So I'm going to go over an example on when we should only invest $10,000 or more or less. And the only way that, in my opinion, again, this is just my opinion, the only way you should invest $10,000 is if you have a net worth of $1 million. So you should never invest any more than $10,000 into one particular stock or crypto. Again, not real estate, but pretty much any other investment, whether it be a stock or crypto. In my opinion, you should never invest any more than $10,000 unless you have a net worth of $1 million. And we'll discuss all of that and more. And I know what you're probably thinking. I don't even know what my net worth is. So that'll be the first part to start. That's where you should start, right? Figure out what your net worth is. Before we get to it, make sure to smash the like, subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff. You'll be notified on any future videos or when we go live. You can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. Handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. So in this video, we'll use the example of MSOS ETF. It tracks all of the major MJ companies in the US. Okay, so if you're looking at this chart, from the highs of February 2021 to the low here of 2023, we're now down over 91%. And if we go from the high of an all-time high in February 2021 highs to where we currently are, we're down about 87%. So if you bought the all-time low at 91%, or right now we're down 87%, both still pretty attractive. And the sector, the ETF's been absolutely destroyed. But this has happened to crypto. There's been at least half a dozen 80%, 90% corrections in crypto. Heck, even Amazon dropped 95%, and it wasn't selling Schedule 1 illegal drugs at the U.S. federal level, or some countries offering the death penalty. Okay, so let's cut the industry a little bit of slack and just realize that this happens to every new emerging, burgeoning, and disruptive industry. Okay, so if it happens to every nascent industry, what should we identify? Okay, well, what is my risk profile? So if you are going to buy any kind of investment, get any kind of lending, the first thing that your financial advisor or your bank or your lender is going to do is they're going to add up all of your liabilities, all of your assets, and they're going to determine, and then your income and everything, your debt to income ratio, then they're going to determine what your net worth is, right? And then that's going to give you, and your age and all these things are going to give you your investor profile and your risk profile. So if you're buying a stock or crypto and you've never, ever, ever figured out or asked yourself, what is my net worth? You're doing the opposite of what 100% of any other financial advisor or institution would do. Okay. That's the very first step. So if you don't know what your net worth is, well, your net worth is calculated as the value of all your assets minus the value of your liabilities. One way to think about it is if you could sell everything you own today and use the proceeds to pay off your debts, the dollar value you have left would be your net worth. Okay. So in my instance, I have 5 different condos, right? I have my savings account, I have a mutual fund account, I have multiple stock accounts, I have multiple crypto accounts. like I've got a lot of diversification in my portfolio, right? And in my investments. And then I also have a ton of cash and mutual funds, and I'm sitting in money market there. So I'm not going to bore you with my story. But the first thing you need to do is calculate your net worth. Okay. If you need help doing that, speak to your financial advisor or whatever. Go to your bank. They can help you. And don't forget the golden rule. So the golden rule is never invest more than you're willing to lose. So that means if your investment were to go belly up and it went to zero, what amount is an amount that you would not be okay with losing? Okay. So whether that's $10,000, whether that's $1,000, so you might be just starting to invest for the first time. You might be investing for 20 years and you've got $1 million you don't know what to do with. Well, your risk tolerance is going to be a lot higher, and the amount that you're willing to lose is going to be a lot higher. So what you do is you figure out your net worth. So let's say your net worth is $1 million. Okay. So my rule of thumb is, first is the golden rule: never invest any more than you're willing to lose. So you say, okay, now that I know my net worth, what is an amount that I would not be okay with losing? And if that's 5% of $1 million, which would be $50,000, right? So if we just take $1 million, or maybe it's 10%, right? So, but we'll just use 5% in this case. So times by 5%. That'd be $5,000. Or sorry, no, that's not $100,000. So $1 million times 5% is $50,000, as I said. Or like I said, you do 100,000. If your net worth is 100,000, if your net worth is 10,000, just times it by 5% and see if that's what you're okay with losing. So if your net worth is $1 million and you're not okay with losing any more than $50,000, then that's the most you should ever use in an investment. You should never go over that. And then what I always tell myself and what I recommend to people, I'm not telling you to buy, sell, or hold anything or what to do. I'm not a financial advisor, a tax advisor, whatever. I'm just giving you my own opinion. I usually keep the 5 to 10% rule. So I never invest any more than 5 to 10% of my net worth into any one sector, not one stock or crypto, one sector. So if it's crypto and my net worth is $1 million, I would never invest any more than 10% of that $1 million into one sector, meaning the whole crypto industry. So that means if I have $1 million, right, and I'm only ever going to invest 10% of that into crypto, or we'll say MJ stocks, that means the max amount of money that I would invest is $100,000. Now you have to determine how much are you going to diversify. Are you going to buy 6 stocks in that sector? Are you going to buy 10 stocks in that sector? Or are you going to buy one? I wouldn't recommend one. I think the sweet spot's somewhere around 6 to 12. But let's say you're going to do that in 5 stocks. Okay. Well, divide that 100,000 by 5 stocks. That means you shouldn't invest any more than $20,000 into one stock. If it's 10, then it's $10,000, right? So never invest any more than $10,000 into one particular stock or crypto, right? If that's still too much, like I said, sometimes it's 5% in certain circumstances, but yeah, that's like, I won't tell you what my net worth is, but I can tell you I don't have any more than $100,000 ever, like into one particular stock like that. I would never do that unless my net worth was, like I said, if I have $100,000, right? What would my net worth have to be? Well, it'd have to be at least 10 times more than that. So, that's just in one sector. So I'd need to have like $10 million, right, before I put $100,000 into one particular stock. So anyway, it gets pretty confusing, but just keep it simple. So let's say $1 million net worth, you're not going to put any more than 10%. So we'll say 10%, $100,000, you're going to buy 10 stocks. That means $10,000 per stock. Or maybe, you're going to put, a little bit more in one stock and then stagger it, right? So, but at the end of the day, if your net worth is $1 million and you've set on 10%, you never want to invest more than $100,000. So the only way you should invest, in my opinion, the only way you should invest any more than $10,000 into one particular stock is if you have a net worth of $1 million, right? Unless you're not going to diversify, right? But, you have to diversify, and not just in MJ, diversify into crypto, real estate, have cash, right? Money on the sidelines in case things go awry. Hedge, have a short position on the S&P 500 as well, or some put options or something like that. So if you have to ask yourself, if you're in this situation where you bought MSOS or any kind of MJ stock and you're down 50 to 80, 90 plus %, and you're having trouble sleeping at night, you're having trouble even looking at the chart, you can't even believe that, this industry, like, oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, I could have done so many things with it. Well, ask yourself, do you know what your net worth is? And if you don't, then how are you ever supposed to determine what the golden rule is? How are you ever supposed to determine how much you're willing to lose if you don't know what your net worth is, right? Because that's the basis of everything within every investor profile. So once you have your net worth, it's like, okay, if I take 5% of my net worth, I still got 95% of it left, right? I think I'll be okay if I lose that 5%, right? So if it's $1 million and you say it's 10%, it's okay, it's $100,000. If you have $1 million net worth and you say 10%, and then you say to yourself, well, would I be okay actually with losing $100,000? And your answer is no, and I'm not going to sleep at night, I'm not going to be mentally well. Well, then you shouldn't invest it. And that's just in one sector, not in one stock or crypto. So if you're not okay with losing $100,000, then maybe you bump it down to 5%. And then it's like, okay, would I be okay with losing all of it, all of my $50,000? Because MJ and crypto are the highest risk industries, like sectors, right? So if you're not okay with losing $50,000, then maybe you want to go to 25,000, right? But it's very, very different if your net worth is $1 million. But if that's too much, right? You got to start somewhere, right? Even just $10,000. Okay. So $10,000 and you're never going to risk more than 10%. That means $1,000, right? And then grow that 1,000 into 2, grow that 2 into 4, 4 into 8. And the next thing you know, you double your net worth. And then you do the same thing all over again and then rebalance it, right? So again, I hear people all the time, I have $100,000 into this one stock. Well, that means, in my opinion, in my rules, in my opinion, in the way I approach things, my net worth would have to be $10 million to have $100,000 into one stock or one crypto. So if you have $100,000, listen to my voice right now, into one stock or crypto, do you have $10 million net worth, right? And if your answer is no, I'm like in debt a lot of money, well, then you probably shouldn't even be investing. You should probably be paying off the debt first, or, maybe putting $50 in a paycheck and paying off your debt and putting $50 in. Again, you're just ready to kiss it goodbye and you're just dollar cost averaging, putting it in, you're buying every couple of weeks or whatever into this one stock or crypto that you like. And it's just money that you forget about, right? And you let sit. But if you've got debt, you shouldn't be taking on more debt to buy stocks or crypto. You should be focusing on paying off that debt and then starting low. Everybody's got to start somewhere and then grow that exponential, right? And then eventually you'll have a net worth of $10,000 and you can invest $1,000. You'll have a net worth of $50,000 and you can invest $5,000. You'll have a net worth of $100,000 and you can invest $10,000. You'll have $1 million and you can invest $100,000 and spread that out across the space. But let me know if you found this video helpful, if you agree with me, disagree with me, what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you. Let me know, because this is something that, I've been following the stock market now for about 15 years, almost 2 decades. And I get this all the time. And not in the first person I talk to, and the first question when I talk to this person, when I hear this from them, that they're all worried about how much they lost or whatever, I'm like, what is your net worth? And they can't even tell me that. So if you don't know what your net worth is, like I said, you just did the exact opposite, 100% of what all financial investments and lenders do. They get your they calculate your net worth, your debt to income ratio, your risk tolerance, and your investor profile. If you don't know what your net worth is, how are you ever supposed to know how much you're willing to lose? And if you don't go through that exercise of saying to myself, how much am I okay with losing 10,000? Am I okay with losing 20,000, 50,000, 100,000? You need to ask yourself these questions. So excited to hear from you and hear your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. This is something I talk to, my partner with. I talk to my friends with, my family, and it sounds so simple, but it's just astonishing how no one ever does it. And I was guilty of it as well. But now that's my first part of the process is I look at how much my net worth is, how much I have, how much I'm willing to lose out of that. And then I go from there. It's usually around 5 or 10%. Okay. All right. Going into there. Hope you have a great weekend ahead. It's Rod with Power Group. Thanks again for joining us in the Pursuit of Wealth, and we'll see you again on the next one.